Hello out there, are we on the air? Welcome to What's the Tea, the show where something is always brewing, even if it's a slow news week. I am your head chef of the program at OwenMan316. If you want pro wrestling news, sports coverage, pop culture, and whatever is sizzling on this crazy TV channel called Earth, you've come to the right place. So grab your favorite beverage and settle in, because it's tea time. Hope you all join me for some tea in the world of pro wrestling, sports, and entertainment. So getting us back into the swing of things here on night 2 is Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley for the NXT Women's Championship. Now I gotta say, going into this, I was excited. Because it's like, I didn't really know much about Rhea Ripley, and Charlotte was kind of someone that started to become one of my favorites. So it's like, okay, let's see what happens here. And the uniqueness is, an NXT title had never been defended at WrestleMania. WrestleMania 36 was the first time this ever happened, when Charlotte Flair won the Royal Rumble and decided to challenge Rhea Ripley for the NXT Women's Championship. And I just think that was cool, and it was something different in a lot of ways. Because you could have had Charlotte versus Bayley, you could have had Charlotte versus Becky, but we've been there, we've done that, we've seen it multiple times. This was something different, and it was something special. And these two just go out here and knock it out of the park. You know, like, you wouldn't have known this was the first time that Charlotte and Rhea ever had a match against each other. And even before the match, they had these great segments on NXT. Especially the first one with Charlotte, Rhea, and Bianca. Like, I love that segment so much. Because you see the person that is basically one of the best against two of the people that are going to become superstars one day with Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. Like, I just remember that segment and just going, wow, this is really, really interesting. You know? And you kind of look at this match and what it laid the groundwork for. If Rhea Ripley didn't lose to Charlotte Flair, I don't really think that she becomes the star that she does today. And I know this is a hot take that would get my ass roasted on Twitter. But, you know, let's kind of think about it for a second. The devil on Rhea Ripley's shoulder was Charlotte Flair after that WrestleMania. That she could never seem to beat her. And you know, that was the thing that really Rhea was aiming to do. Was to finally get that definitive win against Charlotte Flair. Like, that win was something that was that loss at WrestleMania 36 was fuel that just was added to create this fire in Rhea. It brought something new out in her. Like, the genesis of the mommy character, I think, and her joining the Judgment Day is just, after that loss, she kind of got lost in the shuffle, you know? To where she did face Asuka at WrestleMania 37, but then after that, there's just this long lull point for Rhea. But anyways, getting back into the match. This match was fantastic. Like, Charlotte does a great job of leading the match, and Rhea, she puts up a hell of a fight against one of the best to ever do it, arguably, you know? So even though she lost and tapped out with to the figure 8, she can honestly hold her head high and say that she hung in there and she gave Charlotte one hell of a fight, you know? So that's why it's one of my favorite matches ever, and probably my favorite match of WrestleMania 36 still. Is because they told a great story of the vet who's gunning for the NXT Women's Championship against someone that's going to become a huge star one day. Like, I love those tales of the vet against a rising star, you know, because it's just a great story to tell. And like I said, these two went out there and just had a great match with no fans. And you can really tell that Charlotte loves Rhea, because they did a behind-the-scenes thing on WrestleMania 36. I think they shook hands, or there's a moment where Rhea's on the outside of the ring and Charlotte's smiling and laughing at her like, hey, you're gonna be the next star. Like, she could see it right then and there. And what we get are just some fantastic stories between Charlotte and Rhea down the line. Like, we'd have Charlotte versus Rhea versus Io for the NXT Women's Championship at In Your House. And it was fantastic. You'd have Charlotte versus Rhea at Money in the Bank 2021, which I think was actually the first match of that event. And that event was the first match to actually, or that match was part of the first event that had fans since the pandemic era had began. And they just go out there and have an incredible match then. But all those matches really just lay the groundwork for a WrestleMania Classic in Hollywood between Charlotte and Rhea, where Rhea finally gets that win back against Charlotte Flair and becomes the SmackDown Women's Champion. And like I said, man, you really look at it, Charlotte beating Rhea at WrestleMania 36 really lights a fire under Rhea to where she kind of finds herself and becomes a big star. So, you kind of got to look at that and look at what the groundwork was that was built for their big match at WrestleMania 39. So obviously this match gets a woo because it was fantastic. Just a great job by Charlotte and Rhea. This is always going to be probably my favorite match of WrestleMania 36. So our next match was Bobby Lashley versus Aleister Black. Now, I'm just gonna say this here to just backtrack for a minute. The whole Lana, Rusev, Bobby Lashley thing was just awful. Like, this is Vince McMahon booking at its worst. I mean, good God. I remember watching that segment with Liv and Lana and Rusev and Bobby Lashley, and it's like, what in the hell is this? Like, I just didn't understand what they were going for with this. Like, why would you do this? I mean, it was just such a waste of time. And you were trying to make a new version of Liv Morgan, and it's like, this was not it, man. This was not it from the start. Like, I just didn't get it at all. And this match, it's just on full display that Bobby Lashley has to listen to Lana. Like, he could have easily beaten Aleister Black. He has him up for the Dominator, I think, and Lana yells to him, "Spear him, spear him, spear him." And guess what happens? Aleister Black has enough time to recover, jump off of Bobby Lashley's shoulders, hit the Black Mass, 1, 2, 3. And Aleister Black, this is what he can say before he just came back to WWE. He has a singles win at WrestleMania. And that's great for him. But I hated the fact that he was a part of this. Because honestly, he could have been used for something better than this crap. So, I will never have one nice thing to say about that Bobby Lashley, Lana, Rusev thing. Because you threw Liv Morgan in there, and it just made absolutely no sense from the very beginning. Like, I just absolutely hated this for all four of the people involved, because there was just nothing great about this story at all. But I did like how after this, Lana tried to get better in the ring. Like, I can really understand and respect the fact that she tried to get better as an in-ring competitor. I do like that. But yeah, this story was garbage. So, other than Aleister Black getting a win at WrestleMania, boo. This match, again, just another waste of card space. Match number 3, Otis versus Dolph Ziggler. I gotta admit, this was actually a really interesting story. Like, looking back on it, the way Otis did all these nice things for Mandy, and the way Mandy did all these nice things for Otis, it's like, okay, they're definitely gonna have that Valentine's date, right? Enter Dolph Ziggler, and enter Sonya Deville, who it turns out, even though she's Mandy's best friend, was helping Dolph basically cost Otis his Valentine's Day date. So fast forward a little bit, and this leads to this one-on-one match between Otis and Dolph Ziggler. Now, in terms of the match, it's not a bad match. Like, honestly, Otis is not a bad wrestler, and Dolph Ziggler, he's arguably one of the best in the world to do it. And these two go out there and they have a good match. And it tells the story the way it was supposed to. Sonya being in Dolph's corner, and Sonya trying to help Dolph win by cheating, but then Mandy Rose coming to the aid of Otis, and hitting Dolph Ziggler in his Zigglers, basically. And then Otis winning the match, so this match I look on as just more of a moment rather than a match, because the match, like I said, it's not bad, but this was really more for the moment, and you knew that in the end, Otis is going to win the match. He's going to finally get that date with Mandy, and all is going to be right. Because, like I said, with this WrestleMania, you needed feel-good stories like that. And honestly, that's why I enjoyed it. Because it's just a great feel-good moment there. Of Mandy finally realizing that Sonya is really not the best friend that she thought she was. And that she was trying to constantly keep Otis from getting that moment with Mandy, So, honestly, I think it was just a really sweet moment that Otis finally got to be with Mandy, and that's great. So yeah, all's well that ends well with this match. So from that perspective, the moment gets a woo. Wait, I can do better than that. Woo! So we're doing pretty good so far. 2 woos to 1 boo, so that's not bad. But we still got a lot to go. So our next match is a last man standing match between Edge and Randy Orton. I never thought we'd ever see Edge back in the ring. And then when I heard that he returned at the 2020 Royal Rumble, it's like, wait, what? Are you serious? Edge is back? And then they had that moment between Edge and Randy Orton. It was either the Raw after the Rumble or a week after that, I forget. And Randy goes, what do you think if we got Rated RKO back together one more time? And the crowd, they're loving it. They're loving it. And bam, Randy turns around, just as typical Randy Orton fashion there, RKO to Edge. And then he tries to put him out with the concerto by laying a chair across the Edge, and then grabbing another chair and smashing him with it. And this would basically be the last we'd see of Edge for a while. And then a couple weeks later, or it might have been a month later actually, Beth Phoenix shows up on Edge's behalf and has this face-to-face segment with Randy Orton, which ends with Beth getting RKO'd by Randy Orton. So, those segments were great. But here's my beef with this match, overall. There have been many great last person standing matches in the history of pro wrestling, but this is just a glorified tour of the PC. Like, you look at everything they did, and I get it, it's a WrestleMania with no fans, and it's a match stipulation like that, so what else are you gonna do? But man, this match just goes on forever, and there's a spot where they're in the gym, they're in one of the offices, they're in the warehouse doing all this crazy stuff, and it's like, good lord, man, when is this match gonna end? Like, it just went on forever, it seemed like. I think when I rewatched it, I actually fell asleep and woke up, and there's Edge standing there on top of one of the trucks they had in the back, and Randy Orton just laying there lifeless. Like, that is just my beef with this match. Like, don't get me wrong, the spots are creative. Like Edge doing the thing on, I think it was a pull-up bar, and hitting Randy. I thought that was cool. And I thought the callbacks were kind of cool as well. But the bottom line here, it just goes on for way too long. And it just overstays its welcome in some ways, And it's Edge and Randy Orton, of course, I should like this match, is what you're saying. But it's like, no, man, it just, It's literally just a glorified tour of everything in the fucking performance center. And it's like, this is supposed to be a wrestling match, for God's sakes. I mean, for the love of mankind, this is not a match. This is just a complete brawl, which, I like a good brawl and everything, but it just seems like it's a tour of the PC. Take a shot every time I've said that in the last few minutes here. But I'm just saying, man, it's just, like I said, the spots are creative. I like the storytelling. But I just hate how this goes on for 20 minutes. And a lot of it is just, they're walking from room to room, and it's like, are you fucking kidding me? This is WrestleMania, and you're doing a glorified tour of the Performance Center. Like, it's just ridiculous how long this match goes on for. Now, I did like that Edge got the win in the end. That was good. I like that. And I do like that they went on to have a great match at Backlash that they tried to bill as the greatest match ever. Now, no, it's not the greatest match ever. But for what it is a great match. But in terms of this match, it's getting a boo. Sorry, Edgeheads. Sorry, RKO fans, or whatever Randy calls his group of fans. This match just does not do it for me. It's a boo. Our next match is the Street Profits defending the Raw Tag Team Championships against the very random team of Angel Garza and Austin Theory, with, oddly enough, Zelina Vega in their corner. Like, this match just seems so random. And, I like the Street Profits. I really do. I like Angel Garza. I didn't know much about Austin Theory going into this. But it's like this just felt so random and so out of place. Like, you look at the state of the Raw Tag Division there, and it's like, really? 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 This is your Raw Tag Team Championship match for WrestleMania is two guys, they're just randomly paired together against a legitimate tag team and the Street Profits? Like, what are we doing here, man? What in the world are we doing with this? Now, it's a good, fluid match. Like, the Street Profits, their tag team chemistry is off the charts, and it's on full display in this match. It's like that random pairing of Angel and Austin. It's like, what is the point of this? Like, I know, from memory, Zelina Vega was managing Angel Garza, and eventually going to manage Angel Garza and Andrade. But this just felt so random, And yeah, in the end, the Street Profits, they get the win, retaining the tag titles. That's good. So all's well that ends well there. But then Zelina Vega gets in the ring, and Angel and Austin start attacking the Street Profits. And we did kind of get a cool little moment afterwards, as Bianca Belair would show up to the aid of the Street Profits, taking out Zelina, hitting her with the KOD, and getting technically her first ever WrestleMania moment. Although I know she was in the Battle Royal the Women's Battle Royal for WrestleMania 34. I do remember that part. But this was really like her first actual WrestleMania moment. And it's kind of crazy to think that, And eventually the Street Profits, they get up, they put Bianca on their shoulders. Had to be a cool moment for Bianca and her husband, Montez Ford. Like I said, you had to have You had to have a lot of feel-good moments for this Mania. And this is definitely a feel-good moment, with the Street Profits retaining, Bianca coming to the aid, taking out Zelina Vega. Like, I thought that was cool, So all in all, I would give this, for the moment, a woo. Besides, we're at 2 woos to 2 boos. We gotta get this thing back in the right direction. So we'll go 3 woos to 2 boos. So, woo! Our next match is a Fatal 5-Way for the SmackDown Women's Championship. To pit Bayley, the SmackDown Women's Champion, who's on a hell of a run at this point, with her heel turn and everything, against her best friends Sasha Banks, Naomi, Tamina, and Lacey Evans. Now, okay, I can see why people don't like this match, but for me, I like the uniqueness of it. Because you start out with the Fatal 5-Way, and they all team up to eliminate Tamina, and Tamina looked like an absolute monster in this match. Like, it seemed like no matter what the other four did in this match, they just couldn't seem to keep her down. And then finally, it was one finisher, two finisher, three finisher, four finisher, and then they all stacked on top of each other to get Tamina out of the match. 1, 2, 3. Pretty good strategy there. And then this breaks down into a tag match. I thought that was kind of cool. That you see Bayley and Sasha working together against the team of Naomi and Lacey Evans. I like when these things happen, where matches can go from a singles match to a tag match to whatever else can happen. Like, I just thought this was great because it was unique. The match kept evolving, is what I'm getting at. Like, it didn't just remain a singles match or two people teaming up and taking on one person. Like, that's what I like, is when matches evolve like that, because it keeps the audience guessing of what's going to happen next. And I like being able to be kept guessing for what's going to happen next. And then what happens next is Bayley and Sasha, they team up and they go right to work on Lacey Evans and Naomi. And they do a great job, because, Bayley and Sasha, they're one of the best tag teams, if not the best tag team of all time. And what they did in the pandemic era, I'm just going to speak some facts here. They absolutely carried the pandemic era. Like, the Golden Role Models storyline was just fantastic. And what they did was just phenomenal work each week. And I wish that I appreciated it more back then. So I apologize for not really seeing the greatness of the Golden Role Models. But now I have become an enlightened fan, and I see why it was so great, so I will have nothing but nice things to say about them from now on for what they did during the pandemic, because they were just fantastic, especially when they won the tag titles and Sasha won the Raw Women's Championship, and you had that iconic moment of them all, of them just holding all the championships together. That was something that was just really cool and something we never saw. And honestly, I wish we got that in front of fans, because that would have been cool to see, But anyways, getting back into the match. Oh, before I forget, we had a cool moment with Sasha, Naomi, and Tamina. As remember, they used to be Team Bad back in the latter stages of the Divas era, when the Divas Revolution was starting to really pick up. And you see them all there. Tamina kind of offers an olive branch between the two, or between all three of them. They put their hands in the middle, and I forget what they said. It was some kind of chant or something, and I just thought that was a really cool moment. Like, I love when we get callbacks like that. That's just awesome to see, Anyways, getting back into the match itself. I was surprised Naomi is the next person to get eliminated, because Naomi, Bayley, and Sasha all have great chemistry together. Bayley, Sasha, and Lacey Evans. Well, I think I've said my piece before on Lacey Evans and how she just has absolutely no chemistry with anyone whatsoever. Especially the Four Horsewomen. Like, I just can never enjoy a single match of hers, especially against the Four Horsewomen, because it just never gels at any point. Okay, mini rant over. Anyways, like I said, I was surprised Naomi got eliminated, because I thought a triple threat would have been the way to go to end this, with Bayley, Sasha, and Naomi, because it would have just been fun to see that. But Naomi gets eliminated, and it's down to Bayley, Sasha, and Lacey Evans. And Bayley and Sasha, they do a great job of reigniting their tag team chemistry, and they're just beating the crap out of Lacey with every single move. Bayley's hitting elbow drops. Sasha's hitting backstabbers. And I think she hit a frog splash, too, during this. And they're just dominating. And even the way they're taunting Lacey and taunting Michael Cole is just funny as hell. Like, the Bayley-Michael Cole thing, please keep it going forever, because it's just great. And it's just really funny. And I just love seeing it every time, Anyways, Surprisingly, Sasha is the next one to get eliminated, as it looks like Bayley was trying to save Sasha, but Sasha just runs right into a woman's right, which was Lacey's finisher. Lacey pins Sasha 1, 2, 3, and Sasha's gone. And she looks pissed at Bayley. Like, oh my god. I thought for a second they were actually going to do the turn the first time I saw this at WrestleMania, where Sasha was going to turn on Bayley. But it's like, nope. But in some way, it did kind of plant the seed for that to happen later in the year. So good work there in terms of storytelling. But anyways, she gets eliminated. It's down to Bayley and Lacey. And like I said, this would just be a very unlikely pairing, because there was part of me thinking it's going to come down to Bayley and Sasha, but it didn't, which was kind of surprising in some ways. So it comes down to Bayley and Lacey is tired, she's battered, she's bruised, she's beaten up. Bayley has this devious, devilish smile on her face, like she knows she's got her right where she wants her, and she does. And in the end, Bayley does find a way to survive with the SmackDown Women's Championship, as Sasha comes back in the ring, hits a backstabber, and then I think Bayley hits the Rose Plant, and 1, 2, 3, Bayley retains the SmackDown Women's Championship, thanks to Sasha Banks. And again, you had a small moment there at the end, where, oh no, it looks like Sasha is about to turn on Bayley, as she's got the SmackDown Women's Championship in her hands, and she looks for a second at it like, what do I value more, my friendship with Bayley or being the SmackDown Women's Champion? But then you see Sasha put it around her waist, and I thought that was just a cool moment there for both of them, and just what they had been doing so far in the pandemic era. Like, that's just awesome that they got that moment there. And all in all, I like this match. It's unique, it evolves, and it just keeps you guessing. Like, as a fan, that's what I want, is a match that keeps me on my toes and isn't so predictable to the point where I'm like, oh boy, yep, I know what's going to happen next. Oh, a spear. Oh, a stunner. Oh, whatever the fuck. Like, that's just kind of what I'm getting at there, is I like it when matches keep me guessing, because that's just fun, and it just, a lot of those matches are great, you know? But yeah, this match gets a woo! So we're getting right back on the right track. All in all, great match, great moment. Let's move on. Our next match is the Firefly Funhouse match between John Cena and The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. Now, overall, this match is just absolute cinema, like right from the beginning. You have an episode of the Firefly Funhouse, and Bray Wyatt, he's doing his thing, he's doing his monologue, and then he walks out the door, and in comes John Cena. And you even see John Cena interact with Rambling Rabbit, which I thought that was just hilarious. And Rambling Rabbit goes, "You looking for the Fiend?" He goes, "He went that way." And John Cena opens the door. And right from the get-go, it's just this nostalgia trip. Because we get the flashback to John Cena's first match against Kurt Angle. Except it's Bray playing the role of Kurt Angle. And it's just fantastic. Everything. Because John Cena, he even comes out, I think, in something close to his original gear. And you even got the SmackDown fist in the background, which I didn't notice that at first. But it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. And even have Bray do the famous monologue between Kurt and John Cena where he goes, "What is it that you have that makes you think you can take on an Olympic gold medalist?" And John Cena goes, of course, "Ruthless aggression," just like he did in that very famous scene over 20 years ago. Like, that's just crazy that that's over 20 years old now. And they go at it one-on-one, and John Cena trying to punch Bray Wyatt, and Bray Wyatt just keeps dodging it, and he goes, And Cena goes, ruthless aggression, tries to punch him again. Bray dodges it again. And then we go into the next part of it, where I don't think it was the Doctor of Thugonomics. I think this was the Saturday Night's Main Event thing. I think that was next. I'm not exactly sure. But anyways, as part of the nostalgia trip, they even did this little Saturday Night's Main Event segment where it's Bray Wyatt just standing there doing this thing of, let me introduce you to my tag team partner, Johnny Large Meat. And it's John Cena just doing bicep curls while he's doing a promo. And it looked like something that was kind of Macho Man-esque, where he goes, well, let me tell you something. When the rubber hits the road, when the cream rises to the top. And I just liked it, because it's just a great callback and just a great moment there. And eventually John Cena puts the weights down and both his shoulders are hurting, and Bray goes, even though I hate Hulk Hogan, I'm gonna just say this. He goes, what you gonna do, brother, when Evil Mania runs wild on you? And he's just laughing, and the scene cuts to the next thing, and it's Dr. Thugonomics John Cena. And he just speaks in rhymes, doing his classic John Cena thing, and Bray is just not really buying it, which is kind of funny in some ways. And then it flips over back to WrestleMania 30, where John Cena and Bray Wyatt, they're in their WrestleMania 30 attires. Again, I thought that was cool for part of the nostalgia and just the story they were trying to tell with this. And Bray goes, you call yourself a man of the people. Why didn't you listen, John? Because guess what they were chanting during John Cena versus Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania 30? They were doing the, he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. And yet John Cena counters Sister Abigail into an attitude adjustment and beats Bray Wyatt 1-2-3. And clearly that match really meant something to Bray in terms of it kind of broke him in some ways. And he actually says that there, which I thought was interesting. Because like I said, you really see just what kind of story they were trying to tell with this. That it wasn't just a match that's kind of like this John Cena, this is your life segment, but in a match form. It was also kind of Bray Wyatt, this is where you started and this is where you are now. I thought that was just a cool element to add in there in terms of the cinematic match here with this. We even get a WCW flashback where Bray Wyatt is playing the role of Eric Bischoff, and the famous promo where he goes, I love you too, to the audience, and then he goes, let me introduce you to the coolest guy around, and it's John Cena playing the role of Hulk Hogan. Yeah, like I said, I hate Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan, I don't know what else to really say about that guy, except Iron Sheik said it best. Fuck the Hulk Hogan, Bubba. Anyways, as I was saying, this match was just great because it's just, they tell an amazing story with all these props, with all these costumes, and it's just awesome. Like, it doesn't feel like an actual wrestling match, it feels like a movie. Like I said, it's this match that's like this segment, as I was saying, of this is where Bray Wyatt came from, but it's like John Cena, this is your life, but it's a match. I thought that was just kind of cool, you know? But in the end, Bray Wyatt does get the win as he pins John Cena. Well, did he pin him or did he submit him? I forget. I think he submitted him with the mandible claw as he came back into the Fiend, and then he pinned him 1-2-3. So Bray Wyatt wins the match. Like, overall, man, this was just fantastic. It's not a wrestling match in my eyes, it's a movie. Because it's just absolute cinema. You got all these props, you got all these different scenes going on, and you just find a way to have a match but also keep the people entertained. And I love that they were able to do this. So this one absolutely gets a woo, because this was just fantastic. Absolutely off the charts. Great stuff with John Cena and Bray Wyatt. As God is my witness, please forgive me if I get a little emotional on this one. I really wish that Bray was still around with us, because I think that a Bray Wyatt program with this John Cena would just be fantastic. You know, of having Bray as the babyface and John Cena as the heel. You know, so that's just another reason that Bray's passing just really hurts in a lot of ways, because the work he did with John Cena was just fantastic. Rest in peace, Bray. Rest in peace. You'll never be forgotten, man. But yeah, like I said, overall, it was a great match. It gets a woo. And let's move on to our main event. And finally, we've made it to our main event. Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. Now, I'll just say this. I love the whole story of this kind of being Drew's destiny, you know? Because back during his first run, he was kind of introduced to the main roster as the chosen one and kind of handpicked by Vince to be a future world champion. And I gotta say, the old man was actually right for how many times he's been wrong, you know? But overall, I think it was just a cool story of Drew coming back, winning the Rumble. Or I'm sorry. Of him coming back, winning the NXT Championship, then being Dolph Ziggler's lackey for a while, getting a win against Kurt Angle on Raw, and then eventually getting to the point where he's in the Royal Rumble, and he's the one that eliminates Brock Lesnar from the Royal Rumble. Because if you remember something about the Men's Rumble in 2020, Brock Lesnar entered the match at number 1 and just kept dominating. He literally eliminated everybody from the match until Drew McIntyre comes in, bam, hits him with a Claymore. Brock Lesnar's eliminated. And Drew McIntyre goes on to win the Royal Rumble. And he challenges Brock Lesnar to a match at WrestleMania. And a lot of people would kind of looked at Drew and said, "Are you crazy? Like, this is Brock Lesnar, for God's sakes. This man is not a man. This man is an absolute animal. There's a reason they call him the Beast Incarnate." And I remember agreeing with those people, because it's like, Drew, do you really think you have what it takes to beat Brock? And in the end, I must admit, I was wrong. But I can't really say that I was ever rooting against Drew McIntyre, because it's like, as much as I can look at Brock Lesnar's work and go, man, he had a great run, it's just this, too. They treated him as a part-time champ, and the guy barely showed up a lot of times. And his Universal title reigns just soured me so much, because it's like, the champion doesn't have to be there all the time, but at least show up once in a while and be like, yeah, I'm the champ, who's gonna take me down now? And all that, you know? But overall, this match goes like, I think, 5 minutes or something. And it's Drew hitting 3 or 4 claymores. It's Brock Lesnar taking him to Suplex City, hitting like 2 or 3 F5s. But the 4th claymore puts Brock Lesnar down for good, 1, 2, 3. And you guys know how I feel about finisher spamming. That I absolutely despise it. But you know what? For what it was, it kinda makes sense in some ways. Just the way that you want to keep Brock strong, but you also want Drew to look like the conquering hero. So from that perspective, I can give it a pass and say, you know what, it was a good battle between these two titans, with Drew McIntyre being the challenger who wants to conquer the beast at WrestleMania, even though Seth Rollins already did it the year before. But anyways, yes, in the end, Drew McIntyre wins the WWE Championship. And I'm just gonna say this. Before there was Cody's story, there was Drew's destiny. And I know there are gonna be people that say, oh, well, Cody's story means more. It's like, no, both these guys accomplished the same thing. Of Drew getting fired from WWE, but then going to Impact and going all around the world, winning championships, having these fantastic matches, and then finally getting back to where it all began, you know? Like, both stories are great, but I think Drew's destiny needs to be acknowledged a little more. Because yes, I love Cody's story, it's a great story, and I'm glad that he finished the damn story at WrestleMania 40. But like I said, I feel like Drew McIntyre kind of did this first before Cody Rhodes. And I still wonder why, to this day, we haven't gotten that Drew and Cody feud of who did it first, who really had this journey first, you know? Like, I feel like if you had a story there between those two that focuses on that, I think that'd just be great, you know? But overall, I loved it. Drew finally winning that world championship that the guy who used to be in charge of the company said he would one day, and completing or fulfilling his destiny, you know? So I think that was just awesome. But yeah, the thing that really sucks is that he had to celebrate his first world title with no fans in attendance or any of his family because COVID, you know, we're in the middle of a pandemic era of wrestling. But yeah, overall, I thought that was a cool moment. Drew holding up the championship, pointing to the camera and going, "Thank you," to, I think, the fans or his family or something like that. But yeah, overall, that was just a cool moment. And like I said, you just had to have a lot of feel-good moments like that in this WrestleMania. Because to me, that was just important of, you need those moments to give the audience something good to finish on, you know? And I think that was a good finishing note. And overall, Drew's title reign was interesting, you know? He had the great program with Randy Orton there. I thought that was really enjoyable. And then he had the stuff with Miz, Bobby Lashley, like, a lot of really interesting stuff happened during his title reign. But yeah, I think Drew was a great champion in a lot of ways, especially for what he had to do with there being no crowd and a lot of things kind of just being off limits, you know? So overall, I think this was a good match for what it was, but I think the moment is kind of better than the match because you see Drew finally fulfilling his destiny and becoming a world champion after everything he'd been through, getting fired from the company and then going on this journey to find himself and get back to WWE. Like, I just think it was a great story overall. So this one gets a woo. No, I can do better than that. Woo! And that pretty much concludes all the matches. So here's my overall thoughts on WrestleMania 36. In my honest opinion, I think it deserves a lot more love because you gotta think about the times we were in at that point. No fans at WrestleMania. No sports going on anywhere except for Korea, I think, because I remember watching the Korean Baseball League at some points, and that was kind of crazy. And just how everything was being done in a bubble when things did come back. You know, so overall, I think it's a unique and special WrestleMania, because you had the feel-good moments. You had Drew fulfilling his destiny. You had Braun Strowman winning his first world championship as well. You had Kevin Owens finally beating Seth Rollins after everything that he had been through there. You have Sasha putting the title around Bayley. I thought that was cool. You also had the SmackDown Tag Team Championship ladder match. You know, I thought that was cool. And you just had some fun stuff, like Daniel Bryan and Sami Zayn. That was fun. The 24/7 title stuff. As much as I may not be the biggest fan of that title, it was fun because you had Gronk, you had Mojo Rawley, you have R-Truth just being an absolute national treasure. You know, like, you just had a lot of great moments there. And yeah, overall, I think this Mania just, for what they tried to do in terms of keeping people entertained when everything else is just shut down the world, it's great, you know? Like, I get it. There are people that just don't like the way matches finished and everything like that. But overall, I just like what they tried to do with this. And I can appreciate the fact that we still had wrestling, even though there were a lot of things that just weren't going on at the moment, you know? So, like I said, I can just appreciate what they tried to do with this. And that's the reason why I've got the WrestleMania 36 poster hanging in my room here, is because I think it's unique, and it's really one of the last ones that you'd see all four horsewomen on a WrestleMania card, you know, so that's just kind of special to me, you know. Oh yeah, he also had another feel-good moment with Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross winning the tag titles. you know? So, and also Otis getting his girl with Mandy Rose there, that was cool. Aleister Black having a singles win at WrestleMania, that was cool. Edge getting his revenge on Randy Orton for all the shit that he did to him, that was cool. Like, yeah, it was a feel-good Mania that we needed in such a dark time and such a very unpredictable time with COVID and with everything that was going on there, with the lockdowns and everything, you know? So it was something we could all watch and just get our minds off of what was going on in the world. And that's why I can truly appreciate that Mania. And why I think people just need to go back and watch it and just go, you know, it really wasn't that bad. And it actually is one of the better Manias in a lot of ways, you know? Like, you compare 36 to 41, I think 36 is pretty close in terms of being better than 41, you know? Even though 41 had fans. But I think you just have more stories that build into future things, like with Charlotte and Rhea, you know? So overall, I liked it. And I just think it deserves more love. And yeah, I think that really just about does it here. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this one. And I think I'll make this a thing for WrestleMania season, is I'll go back and look at the Mania from 5 years ago to what Mania it'll be this year. So next up will be Mania 37 when we get to that point. So that should be interesting. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this one. Peace. I'm out. And of course, as I go as always, peace, love, rock and roll. And of course, tea. Have a great one. Thank you so much. And guys, before I go, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the love you show this program. And for 50 episodes. There's nowhere to go but up for What's the Tea, and I just can't wait to see what the future holds. And I got a big surprise down the road for all of you that I think you're going to love. Anyways, I'm going to try to get this edited at some point to get it all ready for you guys. So anyways, have a great one. And just a slight update here. I'm going to be on vacation in Florida, so this may not be done before I go, so we will see. Or I'll be on vacation at Lake Gaston in North Carolina, so I may be able to get this done before I go. We will see. Because editing is a bitch sometimes, is all I'm going to say. Anyways, thank you guys so much for 50 great episodes. Here's to many more together. Or really, I should say, cheers to many more together, and cheers to all of you fantastic people out there that love this program. Anyways, I'm out. Toodles. Well, I think that's all the time and all the tea we have here today on What's the Tea. Thanks for kicking back and sipping with me at OwenTheMan316. I'll be here next time with more stories, more laughs, and of course, more tea. Until then, have a great one, and as always, peace, love, rock and roll, and of course, plenty of tea. Thank you guys, and always remember, life's too short not to enjoy your favorite drink. Toodles.